Okay, so this video probably going to be quite a quick one. Basically, in the last video I made, I wanted to do a little section on using the iPad as end of chain effects, and the screen capture didn't record. So anyway, I've gone and purchased a proper screen capture app. So hopefully this one works no problem, and we can just get into it. Um, right, so I use the iPad all the time. It's just super useful, and for me, having like when I'm making jams and uploading videos to YouTube and stuff, I really just want to hit record and then I take the master output, and that's just what gets printed to the video. I don't put it into Ableton and do any kind of mastering or anything. But when I'm doing these jams, sometimes I like to crank the distortion, or like ramp up the resonance and sweep a filter, and I do things that sometimes can make a channel spike and cross the 0 dB mark, and you don't really want to do that if possible, because you can kind of wreck a whole jam with an annoying moment that just everything just kind of falls apart for a second, and it just annoys me every time I hear it. So yeah, I like to set a few things here. So what we're looking at is an iPad Pro M4, but I did this with an iPad Mini 6, and it's totally powerful enough. So you don't need like anything super powerful. It just needs to be good enough to do audio, which is most of them, and pretty much all of the Pro ranges for the last like 2 or 3 gens. Um, right, so this channel on the left here, I'm just showing you the table just now because I want you to see the gear. But we'll be mostly doing looking at the actual screen of the iPad, and I'll switch to the screen capture of that. I guess before we go in here, I'll show you the setup. So using an iPad for end of chain is pretty simple. My setup here is, okay, so this could be anything. It could even just be iPad apps going into a master channel. It doesn't even need to be hardware, but in the world of hardware, effects pedals cost a lot of money. A lot, often much more than synthesizers and drum machines. So yeah, I'd rather just buy synthesizers and drum machines and just offload my end of chain to some iOS apps here. So we'll just use a drum machine, and I've got like a old groove lying around on this thing. Nothing special at all, but it's kind of not the point of the exercise to focus to the drum machine. So the drum machine is going into an audio interface, and so is my microphone. We can ignore this thing at the front. And then we got the iPad here. So I'm using a USB hub, and this USB hub, these things aren't too expensive, like £20, £30 depending. But if you get one, make sure you get one that has a port for powering your iPad, so it can pass through charge while you're jamming, so this thing doesn't run out of battery, because once you start stacking the apps and it starts processing, your battery will deplete faster. So it's nice you do this, and then once you're finished your session, you've got a fully charged iPad. So we're using a USB hub here, and then we're just going from this USB cable into the interface, and it's just the same as if you're using an audio interface with your computer. So yeah, pretty simple stuff. And I think now let's switch to the main screen. Okay, so what we're looking at here is an application called AUM, Audio Unit Mixer. I've gone into this one before, but it's nice because you can add audio and MIDI channels and all kinds of stuff, and yeah, it's just, you can sort of like really like just kind of build your own groove box in here. But when you tap audio, you get a channel, and at the top you can tap the audio source. So is it hardware? It's my interface, or is it an audio unit extension? So these are like all my synthesizers and anything that makes noise is in here. The only requirement of these things is they must be AUV3 compatible. So anyway, let's just like remove that channel, and we'll remove this one. Let's just keep this clean, and just for my own personal, keeping things simple, I'm just gonna call this one master and this one Vox. So yeah, box, okay, doesn't matter. I don't know what it is. But yeah, so yeah, our audio comes in at the top, and where it's going, it happens at the bottom. So I'm sending out to my headphones basically, which are on the USB output channels 1 and 2. So that's fine. We can do a lot with these, but all we're going to do is just make a kind of end of chain. So your end of chain, it can be whatever you want it to be. There's no set in stone right way to do this. I always follow the rule: if something sounds good, it is good, and that's it. Some things I'm always going to put a limiter at the end because that's what's stopping things from clipping. But apart from that, I have my own sequence of effects that I generally sort of follow because they work for me, but people do things the other way around, do things differently. Like where things are in your chain and the things that you use are totally situational, you know. For example, compression is really useful for something like a drum machine here, you know, just like tighten everything up and make it punch a bit harder. But if you're gently tapping away into like poly aftertouch keyboards and putting lots of like real feeling into something, you don't want to squash all that so it's all the same level, because you lose your dynamics, and dynamics are super important. So always trying to like preserve dynamics. So so the first thing I'm going to do is just hit play and just like let me just see. This doesn't do something weird. Yeah, okay, just so I can. So I just did that just so I can see my levels up here. So I'm going to hit this. Now I'm just trying to stay away from the 0, right? Because when I cross that 0, things get weird. So that's fine. I'm just going to leave it there. I could turn it up a bit more, but right now I can hear that and I can hear me, so I'm happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start adding some effects. So the way I do this is I just tap in here and I'll audio unit extension, and I'll just go to my first effect, which I'm usually going to put an EQ here. Now I'm going to put an EQ, there'll be some distortion, there'll be some compression, there'll be a transition effect, and there'll be another EQ, and then there'll be a limiter at the end. I'm not going to start with putting the limiter right there at the end because I want to kind of see what my levels are actually doing while I'm building this up. So yeah, so here I'll just maximize this, and so this is fine. For the sake of this, I'm just gonna like just kind of put in some right, so I would start there and just remove some of the junk from the low end. That'd be like a good start point. And then next, after that, probably I'm going to do something like, let's okay, I know I'm going to be using this one. This is my compressor. So I'm just going to take that. Actually, I'm going to put it there. And this one. I'm looking for Saturn 2. So I'm just going to swipe this left just to keep it out of the chain just now. And then here, this is just a saturator, so I'm just going to, it's quite nice, okay, fine, I like it, just move on. Right, things getting louder, but we're still cool up here, so. Now, this compressor is real nice, Magic Death Eye Stereo. Now here's the thing, I'm using an EQ, a saturator, a compressor, and there'll be a couple of other things maybe, but you don't need to use these particular ones. I use these ones because I just came across them, I like them. When I was doing the research, they came with some good reviews, so fine. But really, yeah, I mean, you just use what you've got, you know. So you build your own end of chain, but I'm just showing the value in just having the iPad here. So I'm also not going to go into talking about like how compressors work and stuff like that. That's totally, there's 100 tutorials out there for that stuff. I'm just gonna, but as an example, you see those needles there. You can have it so it's like this and like you're really squashing it, but I'm just not really into that. I'm going to start like where I hardly feel it, and I just want it to be moving just a little bit, you know. That's totally enough for me, and I keep the compression in sort of like medium speed. So now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to add this thing in here, but we're going to leave it out. That's a layer thing. So I kind of like how that sounded. So if we take these things out, we started here, cut some bass out. Punch is a little bit better when you take all the mud out. And you can hear it's just a bit nicer, right? Whoa. Oopsie. Okay, that's fine. And then here I'm just going to do like one more EQ. In fact, I can just copy this one, copy that there, but I'm going to switch it up and just use like a dynamic kind of drum mix. But there's a lot of stuff you could do with this, you know. I just tap through a couple of these. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. And lastly, let's go stop this moment. Okay, so sorry, something weird happened. Everything's glitched out for a moment. So yeah, basically now once I've done that, I feel like everything's sort of doing its thing. Everything's fine. Now I'm just going to put the limiter in here, and I just use a plugin called Tone Boosters Barricade. And this. Okay, and yeah, from here I can just forget about that. That's that's uh, that's done. I record. I don't need to look at this again. And the recording I get out of this is it's pretty much it's fine. It's like totally good for my purposes. I'm like basically just uploading stuff to YouTube, and I'm not recording any studio albums or anything. So yeah, this works for me. So so that's it. The only other thing is here I can like sneak in an app which I would use for transition effects or something like that. So yeah, I like to do that there, and it's quite handy because sometimes some of these transition effects can spike your volume a little bit. So yeah, I mean you could put it right after the EQ, or you know, I mean you put wherever you feel it needs to go. But yeah, I don't want this to color this sound. I want this to affect this sound, but it could go before the compressor. But as long as there's a limiter in here, then it's fine. It will do stuff like so yeah, you can build that into do whatever. It's quite a cool app actually. It's called Transit, and when you check out the full view, you can customize all of these and add in an entire little mini effects chain in here, and it's all controlled by this one dial here. So it's quite nice. But that's I'm sure other people covered this app already. Anyway, yeah. So that's it. Those are. I mean, the apps I'm using here. So this is a FabFilter Pro Q3. It's an EQ, and another FabFilter app, Saturn 2, Saturator. This is one I actually really love out of all of these. I would say I would fully just recommend this one, a Magic Death Eye Stereo. It's just a really nice sounding compressor. And yeah, I believe this is a replica of a piece of hardware as well, and apparently they did a real good job of this. So I don't know, there's plenty of compressors out there. Use the one you've got, but yeah, this one is the one that I've just been using, so I'm familiar with it. But yeah, it's real nice. It's real nice. And yeah, tone boosters do tons of cool apps, but also they're really affordable. It's like £2.99 or something. So yeah, I mean iOS apps are always way cheaper than their VST equivalents that you would use in Ableton. So yeah, it's an AUM of course as well, but yeah, this is just a great place for just doing what we were talking about, like you can do this. You can also, if you wanted to, you could like you can make buses, and you could basically make this an effects bus and then route everything back into a master channel. Like you can configure this any way you want to. I just do it like this because I know I'm wanting to process all my audio. I'm not wanting to do like parallel compression or anything. So yeah, for me, uh, quite simple. But my setup is always pretty simple. I'm always just two pieces of gear, no vocals. So yeah, it's easy for me to just say throw a bunch of effects on the master, you know. But your own, again, like I said, it's situational. But yeah, it's a nice it's a nice thing to do. Um, it's cheaper than most of the other options. It's especially cheaper than hardware, and it sounds great. And also, you can do it with your phone. An iPhone is just a small iPad, and there's plenty music apps available on the iPhone, and you can build an effects chair on an iPhone and just apply the same thing that we're doing here. And if you're using Electron devices, you don't even need the audio interface part because Digitone, Digitact, Syntact, uh, those things all have an audio interface built into them. So you can just be like Electron Box and iOS device. Anyway, that was it. I'll try and edit this one down as much as possible because there really wasn't much to it. But cool. Thank you.